The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. Good day, we are the Group 1 and we are going to discuss the Unit 1. But before we proceed, let us start the discussion with a single prayer.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
For the overview of this unit, we are going to tackle the concepts, nature, and purposes of curriculum. Curriculum development in the Philippine context, types of curricula, foundations of curriculum, and its characteristics. Under the concepts, nature, and purposes of curriculum, the origin of the term curriculum will be traced to give the students a clear view of what a curriculum is or all about its very nature. Furthermore, the importance of the curriculum will be discussed and how it was crafted or formulated by the different experts in the field. Development of the curriculum in the Philippine context is as important in tracing how it evolves and developed over time from the pre-Spanish period until such time that the Philippines gained its independence in July 4, 1946, a liberation from the American regimes in the country, the types of curricula and how these types have been founded and its characteristics are worthy to be discussed to provide the students better and understanding about the entire unit. Concepts, nature, and purposes of curriculum. According to Bilbao Purita 2015, the word curriculum is derived from the Latin currere, meaning to run. This implies that one of the curriculum functions is to provide a template or design that enables your learning to take place. The concept of curriculum is dynamic and has many definitions. It can be defined simply as a listing of subjects to be taught in school or in broader sense as the total learning experiences of an individual in school and in society as well. So here are the following some examples or definitions of the curriculum that you need to reflect. Curriculum is the sequence of potential experiences set up in school to discipline children and youth in group ways of thinking and act. Is it based on Caswell and Campbell? The next is, curriculum is a structured set of learning outcomes to tasks that educators usually call goals and objectives, and it is based on Howell and Evans. Curriculum is what of teaching. And the next is, curriculum is the listing of subjects to be taught in school. And curriculum is a document that describes a structured series of learning objectives and outcomes for given subject matter or area. It is based on Howell and Evans. And the last one is, curriculum includes a specification of what should be learned, how it should be taught, and the plan for implementing or assessing the learning.
Now, here are the learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, I am able to first define the curriculum from different perspectives, 2. Describe the nature and scope of curriculum, 3. Identify the different types of curricula, 4. Describe the different types of curricula implemented in schools, 5. Reflect on how each type of curriculum affects the other types. 6. Compare and contrast the philosophical beliefs of perennialism, essentialism, progressivism, and reconstructionism. 7. Discuss the influence of the four educational philosophies on curriculum. 8. Identify the application of behaviorist, cognitivist, constructivist, and humanist principles in the classroom. 9. State the values and beliefs about the nature of learning. 10. Trace how history and society influenced curriculum. And 11. Determine the characteristics of good quality curriculum. Now let's go to the report. Hello everyone, my name is Mark Kenneth Miguel. Now we are going to talk about the different two points of views of the curriculum. The numerous definitions of a curriculum are influenced by modes of thoughts, pedagogies, political, and cultural experiences. There are two different points of view of curriculum. These are the traditional perspective or the essentialist school and the progressive point of view or the progressive school. Now, what is essentialist? When we say essentialist, it is a belief that things have a set of characteristics which make them what they are, and that the task of science and philosophy is their discovery and expression, the doctrine that essence is prior to existence. The view that all children should be taught on traditional lines, the ideas and methods regarded as essential to the prevalent culture. The view that categories of people, such as women and men, or heterosexuals and gay people, or members of ethnic groups, have intrinsically different and characteristic natures or dispositions. While progressivists, in the other hand, it make the school interesting and useful by planning lessons that provoke curiosity. In a progressivist school, students are actively learning. The students interact with one another and develop social qualities such as cooperation and tolerance for different points of view. The following are the characteristics of the curriculum as viewed by the essentialist and the progressive type of schools. You have examined, assess, and reflect on how these characteristics could affect the operation of an institution. As you can see in the table, we have the progressivist and essentialist school. In essentialist school, curriculum considers as something rigid, consisting of disciplined subjects, but in progressive school they said that it conceives the curriculum as something flexible based on areas of interest. In essentialist school, it considers all learners as much as the same. It aims to fit the learner into the existing social order to maintain the status quo, while in progressive school, it is learner-centered, keeping in mind that no two persons are alike. In essentialist school, its major motivation is discipline and considers freedom as an outcome and not a means of education, while in progressive school, its factor of motivation is individual achievement, believing that persons are naturally good. In essentialist school, its approach is authoritative, but in progressive school, it uses facilitative approach. In essentialist school, it is book-centered and recommended memory work, mastery of facts and skills, and development of abstract intelligence, but in progressive school, it uses life experience approach and methods emphasize individual spontaneity, problem solving, and development of creative responsibility. In essentialist school, its measurement of outcomes is a standard test based on the subject matter mastery, while in progressive school, its measurement of outcome and achievements are now devices considering the subject matter and personality tests. C. Essentialist and progressive school has different explanation in curriculum. Essentialism is structured, focused on accountability and meeting standards, while progressivism is child-centered, encourages active learning, and realizes that education is just a preparation for life.
Now let's talk about the other definition of curriculum in two different point of view. First, we have here the traditional point of view of curriculum. In early years of 20th century, the traditional concept held of a curriculum is that it is a body of subjects or subject matter prepared by the teachers for the students to learn. It was synonymous to the course of study and syllabus. Robert M. Hutchins used curriculum as permanent studies where the rules of grammar, reading, rhetoric, and logic and mathematics for basic education are emphasized. Basic education should emphasize the 3 R's and college education should be grounded on liberal education. On the other hand, Arthur Bestor, as an essentialist, believes that the mission of the school should be intellectual training, hence curriculum should focus on the fundamental intellectual discipline of grammar, literature, and writing. It should also include mathematics, science, history, and foreign language. Now let's move on to the progressive point of view of curriculum. Curriculum is a total learning experience of an individual. This is anchored by John Dewey's definition of experience and education. He believed that reflective thinking is a means of unifies circular elements. Thought is not derived from actions but tested on application. Caswell and Campbell viewed curriculum as all experienced children have under the guidance of a teacher. Marsh and Willis, on the other hand, view curriculum as all the experiences in the classroom which are planned and enacted by the teacher and also learned by the students. For us to gain better understanding of these two, here are their differences. In traditional, education should be reasonably authoritarian and hierarchical. In progressive, education must be egalitarian. Traditional, curriculum should be subject-centered, but in the progressive, it must be child-centered and relevant. In traditional, emphasis should be on content, but in progressive, emphasis must be on skills. And in traditional again, book or knowledge and accuracy are essential, while in the progressive, experience, experiment, and understanding are more important. And in traditional, rationality and a consideration of factual evidence should be predominate, while in the progressive, creative and feelings are more important than facts. Traditional, there should be a product, while in the progressive, it is the process that matters. Short, the traditionalists see it as a straightforward document that outlines a standardized set of learning goals and outcomes for a given subject area and provides a specification of what should be learned, how it should be taught, and the learning implementation or assessment plan. On the other hand, the progressivists interpret curriculum as a school's overall effort to achieve desired school and out-of-school circumstances. Now let's talk about the different terms in curriculum. We have here curriculum planning. It is the process whereby the arrangement of curriculum plans or learning opportunities are created. Next, curriculum plan is the advanced arrangement of learning opportunities for a particular population of learners, while the curriculum guide is a written curriculum plan. Next is the curriculum laboratory. It is the place or workshop where curriculum materials are gathered or used by the teachers or learners of the curriculum. And resource unit is the collection of suggested learning activities and materials organized around a specific topic or area which a teacher might use in planning, developing, and evaluating learning unit. And at last, curriculum development. It is the process of selecting, organizing, executing, and evaluating learning experience based on the needs, abilities, and interests of learners and the nature of society or community. It must be purposeful, planned, and progressive.
Hello, good day everyone. My name is Nicole Kate Sirabanal from BitLed 2A, and now I'm going to share to you the different types of curricula. Do you know what is it? The recommended curriculum, the written curriculum, the taught curriculum, the assessed curriculum, the supported curriculum, the learned curriculum, the hidden curriculum, the null curriculum, the Pantone curriculum, and the concomitant curriculum. And let's proceed to recommended curriculum. Recommended curriculum is proposed by scholars and professionals, comes from a national agency like the DepEd, CHED, DOST, or any professional organization that has a stake in education. Examples: the Check Memorandum Number 75 Series of 2017, Policies, Standard, and Guidelines for Bachelor of Secondary Education. Another one, the DepEd Order Number 42 Series of 2017, National Adaptation and Implementation of the Philippine Professional for Teachers or PPST. Written curriculum includes documents, course study, or syllabi handed down to the schools, district, division, departments, or college for implementation. Most written curricula are made by curriculum experts with participation of teachers. Examples: the course outline, course guide, and the lesson plan. The third one, the taught curriculum, varied activities that are implemented in order to arrive the objectives and purposes of written curriculum. Different activities which are put into action in the classroom, used by the learners with the guidance of the teachers. And it varies according to the learning styles of the learners and the teaching styles of the teachers. Examples: the group activity, laboratory, experiment. The fourth one is supported curriculum. It includes materials which support or help the implementation of the written curriculum. It should enable learners to achieve real and lifelong learning. Examples: textbooks, computers, audiovisual materials, laboratory equipments. Fifth, assessed curriculum, a series of evaluation done by the teacher to determine the extent of teaching or to tell if the students are progressing. Assessment tools like paper and pencil tests, performance tasks, midterm exam, and final exam. 6. Learn curriculum. Learning outcomes achieved by the students. It indicates by the result of a test and changes in behavior, which can either be cognitive, affective, or psychomotor. Examples: the test result, from non-reader to a reader, from disobedient to obedient. 7. Hidden curriculum. It is unintended curriculum which is not deliberately planned but may modify behavior or influence learning outcomes. It includes the mood of the teachers and the environment. Examples: extracurricular activities and school-associated clubs. 8. Null curriculum. What is not taught? Non-teaching some particular idea or set of ideas may be due to the mandates of the higher authorities, or to a teacher's lack of knowledge, or to deeply ingrained assumptions and biases. Examples: consumer rights, life education, and mindfulness. 9. Phantom curriculum, the message prevalent in and through exposure to media. Examples: newspapers, radio, and television. And the last type is concomitant curriculum. Things that are taught at home, those experiences that are part of the family's experiences, or related experiences sanctioned by the family. This type of curriculum may be received at church in the context of religious expression, lesson on values, ethics or morals, model behaviors, and social experiences based on family preferences.
So, foundation curriculum development in the Philippines. We have 4 foundations, which are the historical, philosophical, psychological, social, and my report will focus in historical foundation of the curriculum. So, curriculum development in the Philippines touch on the religion, economic, political, and social influences and events in the country. Colonial rules in the Philippines tailored the curriculum to serve colonial goals and objectives. So you have to examine the nature and system of the curriculum in the Philippines under the different periods as follow. The number 1 is the pre-Spanish period. So the pre-Spanish curriculum, they have the informal education through interaction with other people. So what does it mean? We can see the education on how people interact with each other, the way they talk or the way they communicate. No direct teaching, no formal methods of instruction. At this time, there is no school, no implemented curriculum. So unplanned and unsystematic learning. Education is for survival, conformity, and enculturation. As we know, in pre-Spanish time or period, people are living without technology. So they are just using the knives. The older people will teach them how to hunt, harvest, fishing, like that. So enculturation naman refers to the process through which we learn about the culture we are living in. So after the pre-Spanish, let's move on to Spanish period. In Spanish devised curriculum, it consists of 3 R's, the reading, writing, and religion. Since we are already invaded by the Spanish, the goals of Spanish curriculum is to accept Catholicism and accept the Spanish rule, such as the loss of Indies. At this point, teaching of Spanish is compulsory. Compulsory means whether you like it or not, you need to study Spanish. You need to learn their language. Okay? Next, the schools. Parochial or convent schools or ungraded. The curriculum organization. The curriculum organization that they use is the subject-based organization. The reading materials are Cartilla, Caton, and Catecismo. And the methods of instruction is dictation and individual memorization. The curricular aims is to teach young boys and girls to serve and love God, discover what is good and proper for oneself, enable an individual to get along well with society. And during the early years of Spanish colonization, education was mostly run by the church. Spanish friars and missionaries educated the natives and converted indigenous populations to the Catholic faith. The third is the American period. Here is the creation of public school system to train Filipinos after the American way of life or to teach democracy as a way of life. But first, what is democracy? Democracy, it is a form of government in which the people have the authority to deliberate and decide legislation or to choose governing officials to do so. Until now, here in the Philippines, we are implementing the democratic government. And under this American curriculum, the American devised curriculum, we use the American devised curriculum based on the ideals and traditions of America and her hierarchy of values. Reading materials were about American history, development, discoveries, and people. And the medium of instruction is English. Primary curriculum consisted of 3 grades which provided body training and mental training. And intermediate curriculum consisted of subjects such as arithmetic, geography, science, and English. In collegiate college included a teacher's training curriculum appropriate for elementary mentors to replace the Thomasites. What are the Thomasites? Thomasites were a group of 600 American teachers who traveled from the United States to the newly occupied territory of the Philippines. And curriculum organization. The organization that they used is separate subject. The fourth one is the curriculum during the Commonwealth. At this period, it is the periods of expansion and reform in the Philippine curriculum. And the course in farming, trade, business, domestic, science. So, at this curriculum, the curriculum for the training of elementary teachers was expanded and elevated by the Bureau of Education from the secondary normal schools to the collegiate level. The Commonwealth Act 586, or also known as the Educational Act of 1940, recognized the elementary school system. The collegiate normal schools in 1939, 2 years training beyond high school. So, and also here, they eliminated the grade 7 and providing for the double single session. Okay, the next is the Japanese devised curriculum. Here are the things that happened during the Japanese period. Okay, they included Nihongo in the curriculum. Next is they abolished English as the medium of instruction and as a subject. At the Japanese devised curriculum, they get rid of English as a language used in teaching. Of course, they used the Nihongo. All textbook were censored and revised. They changed every textbooks. So training was done formally through school with emphasis on vocational, technical, and agricultural. The Japanese devised curriculum. Curriculum content centered on values rooted for the love of labor and teaching physical education and singing Japanese song. Sixth is the curriculum during the liberation period. At this period, the restoration of grade 7 was happened. As we remember, I said earlier that in Commonwealth period, they eliminated the grade 7, but at this time, in liberation period, they put it back and removed the double single session. They abolished the double single session. Curriculum was developed and based on the characteristics and needs of every Filipino children. And aside from that, curriculum was still subject-centered. Promotion of equal education opportunities for all. What does it mean? Before, there is an equal treatment of education between boys and girls. And in liberation period, all was given the opportunities to learn and to attend schools. Curricular content stress. Under the curricular content stress, there is a social orientation. An example of that is the conservation of the Filipino heritage. Aside from social orientation, there is also the training for occupation, promotion of democratic, nation building, and a new trust on community development. The seventh is the curriculum during the Philippine Republic. In this period, the great experiments in the community school idea and the use of vernacular in the first 2 grades of the primary schools as the medium of instruction. But first, what is a vernacular or vernacular language? It refers to the language or dialect that is spoken by people that are inhabiting a particular country or region. The vernacular is typically the native language, normally spoken informally rather than written. So, and seen as of lower status than more codified forms. The next is schools are increasingly using instructional materials that are Philippine-oriented. The aim of education is for national development. So, made education relevant to the needs of the changing world or the new society. An example of that is the Educational Development Decree of 1972 by the President Marcos. The eighth is the curriculum during the new society. There is a curricular changes in the elementary education, where they focused on the 3 R's. Integration of values in all learning areas, emphasis on mastery learning. Curricular changes in the secondary education. So, they increase in time allotment, YDT or the Youth Development Training, and CAT or the Citizens Advancement Training introduced as a new courses. Elective offerings as parts of the curriculum. Curriculum emphasis are moral values, proper methods of teaching, retraining of teachers, vocational and technical education, bilingualism. From the word itself, bilingualism means bi. It means using of 2 languages, national consciousness, and cultural values. And the last one is the present period. This period, the Text Order number 6 series of 1998, issued by the Education Secretary Kisimbing, strengthens the teaching of values in the new elementary school curriculum or the NESC. Launched in school year 1989 to 1990 under the program of Decentralized Educational Development or the PROFED and Secondary Educational Development Program or SEDP. And next, the education aimed to promote national development and values education. Implementation of NESC addressed to civic, intellectual, and character development of the child. The implementation of RBCE and the implementation of K-12 curriculum, which is we are using today. Philosophical foundation of the curriculum. The philosophical foundation of the curriculum helps to determine the driving purpose of education and the roles of the various participants. While all the foundation propose to set goals of the curriculum, philosophy presents the manner of thinking from which those goals are created. Philosophies vary in the perception of truth, ranging from absolute to relative and from moralistic to scientific. In all of this, once a philosophy defines the role of the teacher, ranging from all-knowing authoritarian to that of a mentor, and the part of the student, ranging from an obedient, vacant vessel to an individual worthy of active engaging in one's educational process. Okay? Philosophy of education lays the solid framework for every curriculum. Curriculum manager or expert, implementer or teacher, head of school, evaluator supports a clear theory in his or her decision-making methods. Okay, here are the aims, rules, focuses, and trends of educational philosophy. Educational philosophy and its aims to education. The first one is the perennialism, and its aim is to educate the rational person and to cultivate the intellect. This philosophy is teacher-centered. Perennialism is based on the philosophy of Plato, Aristotle, and Saint Thomas Aquinas. The next one is the essentialism. The essentialism aims is to promote the intellectual growth of the individual and to educate a competent person. William C. Bagley is commonly referred as the founder of essentialist educational theory. Next is progressivism. The aim of progressivism is to promote democratic and social living. John Dewey, who would later be remembered as the father of progressivism education. The next is reconstructionism. The aim of reconstructionism is to improve and reconstruct society and education for a change. Theodore Burghard Hurt Brumeld was a leading educational philosopher of the 20th century. As an American educator and educational philosopher, Bermeld was best known as the founder of social reconstructionism. The education philosophy and its role of education. The role of perennialism is teachers help students think with reason, based on the Socratic methods of oral exposition or recitation, explicit or deliberate teaching of traditional values. So, perennialism is a teacher-centered. The role of essentialism is the teacher is the sole authority in his or her subject area or field of specialization. It is also teacher-centered. Students cannot learn on their own pace. Next, the role of progressivism. The knowledge leads to the growth and development of lifelong learners who actively learn by doing, like doing the laboratories or doing projects. The role of reconstructionism. The teachers act as agents of change and reform in various educational projects, including the research. Educational philosophy and its focus in curriculum. The first one is the perennialism. Its focus is in classical subjects, literary analysis, curriculum is constant. Essentialism focused curriculum are essential skills of the 3 R's. What are those 3 R's? Those are reading, writing, and arithmetic, and essential subjects of English, science, and history, mathematics, and foreign language. Progressive focused curriculum are interdisciplinary, integrative, and interactive. Curriculum is focused on students' interests, human problems, and affairs. The last one is reconstructionism, focused on present and future trends and national and international interests. The educational philosophy and its curriculum trends. Perennialism is the use of great books and return to liberal arts. Essentialism's excellence in education, back to basics and cultural literacy. While progressivism, schools, reforms, relevant and contextualized curriculum, humanistic education. And the last one is the reconstructionism. Quality of educational opportunities in education, access in global education.
Psychological foundation of the curriculum psychology. So when we say psychological or psychology, it is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. It is concerned with the question on how people learn. Maybe some of you thinking that why should the curriculum developer have knowledge about the psychology of learning? It is simply because psychology learning theories provide insight into the understanding, the teaching and learning process on what is learning, why do learners respond as they do to the teacher's efforts, what are those impact into the school and culture have on student learning. Psychology theories provide principle and direction for a curriculum developer on how should curriculum be organized to enhance learning, what is the optimal level of the student participation in the learning, the curriculum's various content. So, let's proceed to the 3 major groups of learning theories that help to shape in crafting the curriculum. First is behaviorist psychology or behaviorism. It is the theory of learning which states all the behavior are learned through interaction with the environmental through a process called conditioning. That behavior is simply a response to a environment stimuli, meaning to say that behaviorist psychology is the learning that tends to focus on conditioning on modifying behavior through reinforcement and reward.
Physiologist Ivan Pavlov made an accidental discovery that was to become a landmark in the field of learning. Pavlov was studying the salivation reflex in dogs as part of his research on digestion. He noticed that after the dogs had been brought to the laboratory many times, they would start to salivate even before food was given. What had altered the dog's inborn salivation reflex? Pavlov was fascinated and changed the direction of his research to focus on what he called conditional reflexes. Pavlov knew that placing food in the dog's mouth naturally caused salivation. The unconditioned stimulus food produced the unconditioned response, salivation. Through a series of ingenious experiments, he found that if a new and unrelated stimulus, like a bell, was repeatedly sounded before the food was given, the dogs would learn to salivate when they heard the bell, even when no food followed. The conditioned stimulus, the bell, produced the conditioned response, salivation. Moreover, almost any type of stimulus when paired with food could produce salivation. This process of learning by association became known as classical conditioning.
Method of teaching is introduced in a step-by-step manner with proper sequence of the tasks. So before we proceed to the next learning theories, I will give you one of the four major theories under the behaviorism. And it is the connectionism by Edward Thorndike, 1874 to 1949. He is the father of modern educational psychology and founder of behavioral psychology. He started his research with animals using stimulus responses, classic conditioning, and developed the idea of connectionism, which define learning as a connection or association of the increasing number of habits. The impact of behaviorism into the curriculum is it will increase the learning relevant, enjoyable. Connection will be built on the student positive experience and negative feeling identify and modify to positive result. 2 is cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology refers to the study of the mind and how we think. Cognitive psychology tries to build up a cognitive models of the information processing that goes on the inside people's mind, including perception, attention, language, memory, thinking, and consciousness. It is also focusing into the attention on how you as an individual process information and how you monitor and manage thinking. And one of the most known psychologists in cognitive psychology is Jean Piaget. He believed that children move through 4 different stages of mental development. His theory focuses not only on the understanding how children acquire knowledge, but also on understanding the nature of intelligence. Second is Howard Gardner in the theory of multiple intelligence, proposed that people are not born with all the intelligence they will ever have. This theory challenged the traditional notion that there is one of the single type of intelligence, sometimes known as G for general intelligence, that only focuses on cognitive abilities. For the last is the emotional intelligence by Daniel Goleman, the most often defined as the ability to perceive, use, understand, manage, and handle emotions. Number 3 is humanistic psychology. Learner is seen as a person who has feelings, attitudes, and emotions. Social foundation schools operate within the framework of society, as well as the social culture impacts on their curricula. Curriculum and society has a reciprocal and all-encompassing interaction. Association between the curriculum and society are mutual and inclusive. As the result, curriculum should embody and preserve society's culture as well as its aspiration to remain relevant. Education systems are inextricably linked to society's institutional network. To understand how the content of schooling is shaped into every culture, one must first comprehend the link between education and other societal institutions. When designing a curriculum, the following question must be addressed. What is taught? How it's taught? And why it's taught? And what are the social forces that shape the curriculum? To what extent should the curriculum consider the world outside of the school? Or, how do changes in society affect curriculum? Knowing the social foundation of the curriculum is crucial in making decisions about what should be included in the curriculum and eventually what happens in the classroom. School exists within the context of society and influence culture, which in turn shape curriculum. The story curriculum of our school illustrates this point. A curriculum should be able to prepare a student for the present and the future. In other words, a curriculum should address your wants and needs by responding to social condition locally, nationally, and globally. According to McNeil 1995, you may ask, why do I need to study algebra? I do not intend to be a mathematician, computer scientist, or engineer. The importance of such subjects in a curriculum may not be apparent to you as learners. Still, teachers know that solving algebra problems require true skills that not seems instantly important but will benefit you indirectly later in your life in many careers and jobs. According to Barks 1998, content is a valuable if it relates to the general body of knowledge needed by the average human being for conducting daily life.
Characteristic of a good curriculum. So the effectiveness of the development determines of the quality of the curriculum itself. So according to Stapback Philip, UNESCO 2015, there are characteristics of a curriculum. So the characteristic of a good curriculum is it values a child and holds every child matter equally, and is comprised high quality content that is up to date and relevant, suitably demanding, appropriately sequenced and progressive. It is a balanced and integrated, well organized and structured, and clearly documented, and comprises a number of interrelated components that express inconsistent and coherent document. And also, it is underpinned by a set of theoretical and philosophical beliefs about how children learn. Furthermore, in their article published in NSR Journal of Nursing and Health Science, they identified about the characteristic of good curriculum. The curriculum is continuously evolving because it develops from one to another to the present, and it must have continuous mentoring and evaluation to be effective, and it should adapt its educational activities and services to meet the needs of the modern society. Curriculum has become a dynamic process due to the changes that occur in our society, because curriculum development is defined as progressive and systematic process to create a positive improvements in educational system. The curriculum is based on the needs of the people because it considers the needs of every individual and the society as a whole, and it should be in a proper shape to meet the challenges and make education more responsive to the people it serves. So, how to support the different learning needs of the students? So, we need a discussion to the parents if we have noticed anything or concerns about the students, and we have effective ways to meet the individual needs of the students. Here is the effective ways to meet the individual needs of the students. First is create a learning goal for all your students. And second, give students different ways to learn. And the third, let students work in the way that is the best for them. And the last, evaluate your students in different ways. The curriculum is democratically conceived because it is developed through the efforts of a group from different sectors in the society who are credit about interests, needs, and resources of the society as a whole, and it is the product of energies of many minds. It is embodies from a point of view and their social interactions and collective enterprise necessary for active citizenship in a democratic society. The curriculum is the result of a long-term effort because it is a product of long and monotonous process, and it takes a lot of time in the planning, managing, evaluating, and development. We develop a curriculum by planning an intentional, progressive, and systematic process. We need a lot of time to create a positive improvement in the education system, and it should be shaping the mindset of the students to solve the challenges of the environment.
The curriculum is a complex of details because it provides a proper instructional equipment and meeting places that are encouraging to learn, and it includes a student-teacher relationship, guidance and counseling, program, health services, community projects, library, laboratory, and other school-related work experience. To fulfill their roles, teachers need to be competent in their responsibilities toward their students. One important role of teachers inside and outside the school is to provide guidance and counseling to their students. The curriculum provides for the logical sequence of subject matter. Learning is developmental. Classes and activities must be planned and providing continuity of experience. It gives teachers the opportunity to think about their choice of lessons objectives, the sequence of those activities, the materials needed, and how students should be grouped. It helps to enhance the learner's self-confidence as a result of learning at their own style. The curriculum complements and cooperates with other programs of the community because it is responsive to the needs of the society, and schools offers its assistance on improving and realizations of ongoing programs of the community, and it is cooperative efforts between the social and community creates a greater productivity. The schools also benefit the communities by employing teachers who will be without jobs and incomes, and those individuals develop the skills to help others to an ongoing process of community development. The curriculum has educational quality because quality education comes through the intellectual and creative capacities of individuals for social welfare and development, and also it helps the learner to become the best as they can possibly be. It provides the foundation for equity in the society. It also empowers citizens to contribute maximum extent possible to the social and economic development of their communities. The curriculum has administrative flexibility because it must be ready to incorporate changes and is open to revision and development to meet the demands of globalization and digital age. Because curriculum allows students to explore their classes, since students are not required to make decisions about their major until the end of their sophomore year. There is a lot of time for their exploration.